Our next speaker is a speaker who have been at Open Mind Conference before. I really respect people like Max and James Corbett and all the kind of people who have the capability to see the matrix, to see the system and explain for us what is going on. Because it makes it so much easier for us who's interested in all this to do the research and actually cover a subject. We are so fortunate that many of those come to Open Mind Conference and stand on this stage and tell us about it. And Max Igan is a man with a lot of talent, from being a social and political analyst at the Crow House, which is the homepage of Max Igan, to filmmaker, to film like Transformation. How many of you have seen Transformation? My God, you are lucky, those who haven't seen it. This is a fantastic film because Max, besides its very beautiful make, it actually tells about how the civilization was made, why it is as it is, and where we are going. But at the same time, his Australian accent is talking with this fantastic voice you have, Max, and with fantastic music put on, and he talks on the beat. He told me that when we were together in Portugal, you remember? Yeah. I said, why can it be this film works so good? I talk on the beat. Yeah. So Max will, with his lecture now, try to give you some hints about how to work in this technocratic world we are living in, so you're not using all your energy the wrong way. Please welcome Max Igan.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, brother. Wonderful intro. Thank you, Frank. Thank you to all of you guys for being here as well. We couldn't do this without you. That's the best thing about these events, is the people that I meet here. You meet intelligent people at these events, people you can actually have a conversation with. That's always refreshing. You don't get a lot of that in the real world. So I just kind of wing it with these things. I don't really know where I'm going. So I put something together this morning, so we'll just see what we can make of it, okay? This is the name of today's talk, okay? The Rise of Technocracy, Which Path to Freedom, Looking Behind the Veil. And I like to include this in every talk. Bit of a reality check, folks. I don't like to sort of pull any punches with what I say. And what I'm offering you here, it's really important to understand, what I'm offering you here is my perspective, based on what I've looked at, what I've been able to make of it, and where I think we're going from that. It's really important to understand that with all the speakers that you see, what they're offering you is their perspective. You know, is it right? Are they true? Have we got it all right? Well, possibly we have. So it's up to you to look at that and take what you can from it and put the big picture together yourself, because very often times you people who come to these conferences have more access to information than what we the speakers do, because we often don't get to hear the other speakers. I certainly didn't yesterday. I was a bit jet lagged. If anyone saw the brown gnome in the poncho sleeping around the place in various areas, that was me trying to cope with being in Denmark. So I'm sort of still on LA time, so I always like to include this as well. I may say some things that you might sort of not like, but hey, it's just the way it goes. I apologise in advance, but not really, that's just the way it goes. But life, folks, what is life? Life is wisdom's dare. This is a picture by a friend of mine called Adam Scott Miller. And I like to include this in every talk because life is wisdom's dare. It's what we do with it, what we do with this journey. All of it really comes up to us. And even when we look at the world today, what we're facing in the world really is wrong behaviour from everybody, and it's through our tolerance. You know, and it's really wisdom's dare. How do we get out of this situation? This again is wisdom's dare. We just got to look at the right path. And so many paths are being offered to us. Which path do we want to go? There's so many different movements that come into play, different ideas, different concepts, different systems. That's the problem when trying to get out of this system. People say, well, if you don't like this system that we're in, what's the new idea? What's your new system? And ultimately, there's nothing really wrong with this system. This system could work. We don't need to change the system. What we need to change is what's in here. because it's what's in here that changes everything. People say if you change what's in the inside, you change the outside world, and people think, okay, I can sit here and meditate and then I'm going to open my eyes and the world's changed. It doesn't work that way. You've actually got to apply it to the world you live in. You're in a physical world for a reality. It's because you're supposed to participate. There's a clue there, you exist. Might be a clue in that for people. You're supposed to participate in this world. But if you apply your heart to every situation that you're in, you'll find that you can make a change. It's our tolerance of wrong behaviour that allows all this stuff to happen, allows the system to do what it does. You know, and when we try to find a way out, it's all these different ideas people give us, but we don't look at the main concept. Even with things like Michael Tellinger and the Ubuntu movement, great idea, this whole concept of a giving society, a society where we don't need money. It's a great idea, but if people don't change what's in their heart, then it doesn't matter. We'll just end up back in the same spot. But if we change what's in our heart and change the way we interact with people on an everyday basis, everybody we come into contact with, treat them in lakesh, as yourself, you know, then we change the world. That's how it works. We don't have to change anything else. The system has to change around us if we choose the right path, and it's just got to be the path with a heart. That's the path we need. The path that we're choosing at the moment doesn't really have much of a heart. When we look at what we're doing to the world, it doesn't really have much of a heart. And ultimately, why we have to do this, and why I'm out here doing this, and why all the speakers come here to do all the things we do, is because of these guys. It's because of these guys, because these guys are very, very precious. The children, you know, what we've created with this world, what we've allowed to happen the past few generations, it's pretty disgraceful. Admittedly, we were coerced into it, we were trained, we were led down this path, but it's pretty disgraceful what we've allowed the world to become. And these guys are really important. And if we don't do something about these guys, the kids that are starting school now, by the time they come out of school, by the time they come out of college in another 10 years, they're not going to have any reference point for what freedom could have looked like or what the world could have been, because they're all getting locked into this digital world. They're getting locked into this iPad world. So I want kids to have iPads at very early ages. But what do we do to the kids now? You know, they're born, we fill them full of poisons. The government loves to do that on the guise of helping them. And then what do we do with our home lives? We put them in front of the TV and we let the TV look after them. We send them off to the education system. They get trained to be little clones. They go out into the world. They get caught in the credit trap. They end up locked into that, and that's their life. And then they sit back and pretend to enjoy it. This guy's having a great time. Got his beer, got his chips, got his remote control, his team's winning. He doesn't even notice that he's chained to a wall of debt. And that's life. That's life. And we carry that debt around with us for the rest of our lives. We try to get information. The TV is very good at giving us information. They really feed us what we want to know. We get programmed by religion, all programmed into division. We divide. Everything about the system is designed to divide. And that's the sum total of our life in civilization. We work hard to get the house and get all this stuff, this American dream, the Norwegian dream, the Danish dream, whichever dream, it's all the same dream. But it's all a dream. It's like George Carlin said, the American dream. They call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And that's just really the way it is. It's the same everywhere, because that's the sum total of everything that we do. And it's because people just sit there and they get their information from the one source. They just sit there and they get what they're fed, and meanwhile the system just marches on. That's what we get. It just marches out across the world doing what it does. The drums of war sound, and we just go along with it. We get fed all this stuff by the TV, and we just go along with it. So people can look at it, you know, they get to a point in life and they look at it, they realise that there's this Leviathan, there's this thing that's controlling everything, and it's just this octopus. You realise that it's the money system. Everyone knows what money does, debt-based currency. Debt-based currency, the usurious money system, the Jewish usurious monetary system, yes, those guys, they put that system in place. The usurious monetary system is designed to create scarcity. That's what it is. It's a debt-based economy. The debt can never be paid. The interest can never be paid on the loan, and so it puts everybody in scarcity. A debt-based usurious monetary system creates the need for efficiency in work. It creates the need for automation. It creates the need for more information, more control. It creates the need for everything to lead exactly to where we've been led, exactly to where we are now. The whole automated system, the smart grid that's coming online, if you really trace it back, it's a result of usury, it's a result of scarcity. And it's this octopus that just controls the world. So we see it, we realise it's everywhere, and we look, it's everywhere. It's certainly here in Europe. It's taken over all of Europe. It's certainly in the United States, and it's infecting the world from the United States. Like I said, who controls it? There are certain influences there that certainly control the direction of the US government, and we know who that is. It controls the US education system, controls the entire global education system, and now it's going even deeper and is starting to control the entire electrical grid, the entire internet, the entire system itself in every aspect. That's where we're heading. And people see it, they see all these problems happening, so they think, well, what are we going to do about it? We've got to get a new leader. We'll have an election. That's what we'll do. That's what they did in the United States. They had an election. Wasn't that great? Have an election. Who thought Hillary Clinton was going to win? I did. I seriously thought Hillary Clinton was pegged to win. I really thought she was. But then they played a little bait and switch on us. And why didn't Hillary Clinton win? All the emails came out, all those Clinton emails, remember? All the pedophile ring, all that stuff, Pizzagate. That's what happened with Hillary Clinton. That all came out, all those emails came out perfectly timed, and people saw what they were electing into the Oval Office. They were going to elect this thing into power. And of course her election campaign didn't help very much either. She really did a bad job with that. And people just saw what they were electing. You know, you want that in the White House? I don't know. So they went for Trump. But what was that? What was that? More snake oil for the masses, because things are just not what they seem. They're just not what they seem. I love that picture. Things just aren't what they seem at first glance, are they? So what did they get when they got Trump? They just got another snake with a Twitter account, another octopus with a Twitter account. And people try to go through this and they try to figure out what's going on. Like I said, all they get is rubbish from the television. And what have we seen since Trump's been elected? We've seen all this rhetoric on the floor in the United States, all this battling of left and right, you know, the Antifa movement, all of this anti-Trump stuff that's happening. It's all theatre for the masses. It's all theatre for the masses, left and right paradigm. The whole election was rigged from the beginning. Trump was meant to win. Of course he was meant to win. Trump actually mentioned Pizzagate back in October last year, about 2 months before the term was coined. He mentioned it in an interview. Oh, I've been going back and forth between Anthony Weinergate and Pizzagate, and it just got lost in the text and no one really noticed it. But that was 2 months before Pizzagate ever came out, because it was all a play. It was all a play to bring all this wave against Hillary Clinton, to get Trump in, to throw the truth community a bone, so we'd all think this guy's in there batting for us, and he's not. He's not. It's the same thing. It's like Kissinger said, it's not what's true, it's a matter of what's perceived to be true. The whole thing, it's theatre for the masses, folks, because what's changed since Trump got in? Really, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. It's all gone down the same path, because it's all smoke and mirrors from the beginning. Because what we've got in the world is not really a political system. What we've got in the world, encompassing all governments in all countries, is a criminal class that's running the world. People call it an oligarchy. I call it a kakistocracy. It's a kakistocracy. This is a word that was taken out of the dictionary about 100 years ago. It's a real word. Kakistocracy defined as governance by the worst elements of society who govern exclusively in their own interest and to the permanent detriment of all other classes. That's what we got. Comes from the Baltic kaka. Kaka, shit. Rule by the shit people. That's what we've got, folks. Rule by the shit people. You can see why they took this word out of the dictionary. It's still a real word, but you can see why they took it out of the dictionary. It's not even an oligarchy. It's not even all these things we say it is. It's a criminal class. It's a criminal class who rules by Hegelian dialectic. That's what they do. Even with this smart grid, I was talking to someone earlier today. You look at this smart grid, how they're bringing it online under the guise of convenience. They do it by making everything so inconvenient for you to begin with. You notice someone was telling me in the car on the way here that the train cars, you've got to use your mobile phone apparently to travel on the train here now. You've got to log on or something and then log off when you get off the train. And if you get to log off, your account gets drained. They do this. I mean, they could just have you pay for it and you get to the destination and they know where you're going and they just take that bit out. But they leave it so that it drains your account. So you'll welcome this whole smart grid. Oh, it's all smart now. I just got to walk in and walk off. It just detects me. It's all good. I save money. They create the problem so that you will ask for the solution. Yeah, the smart grid's going to save me all this money. It's going to save me having to remember to log off and all this sort of stuff. You know, when we arrived at the airport in Houston last year, 4 aircraft arrived at the airport at one time, like 1,200 people, and they got 16 counters there for your passports. 2 of them are open. 2.5 hours it took us to get through, get our passports stamped. Meanwhile, over on the side here, you've got the workers starting all the retinal scanners and building all this stuff here so you can see the convenience that they're bringing for you. But they make it inconvenient just so you'll want the convenience. That's how they do it. And everything government does is a scam. Government is not your friend. They're not your friend. And when you get in a situation where you need help, they'll give you some help, not a problem. It's not always the help that you're looking for, though. It's really not. It's usually the help that benefits them. And what's happened, they don't talk about anything. None of these governments talk about anything real. They don't tell you what's really going on with the war on terror. How many politicians do you know really talk about that, what's going on? That ISIS is just a mercenary army funded by the Clinton Foundation and DynCorp in Israel. And they're destroying the Middle East for greater Israel. How many people tell you that? How many politicians mention that? How many politicians talk about 9/11? You know, all we do is we wage wars for this to protect us, to save the world, and look what we do to the world. Look what we do to the world, and people wonder why it goes on. People wonder why it just never stops. No matter what we do, the wars never stop. And the reason it doesn't stop is this, because of the human harvest that happens in the war. We saw all this exposed by George Webb. Who looked at George Webb's work on YouTube? The expose he did of the Clinton emails. He did some great work with that, but you've got to watch what George does as well, because George is Mossad. George has really funneled all the attention away from Israel and what's going on there. And he's put it all on the Clinton Foundation and DynCorp and these Aswan brothers or something. It's all misdirection. I mean, a lot of it is true, but a lot of it is misdirection as well. Something he doesn't talk about is this bit here. The Promise software and the Palantir software. He talks about this, how it manages all the rat lines. He doesn't tell you where it comes from. The Promise software was a software that was a backdoor software they put into all sorts of programs. The Promise software was what was used to run the 9/11 attacks. They put the backdoors into all the windows, in all the computers, so they could put the blips on the screens and all the stuff they did on 9/11. The company that kind of started that kind of just phased out and went into, just disappeared. But that all morphed into the Palantir software. And the Palantir software monitors everything, monitors all communication. That's what is being used to monitor everything for the smart grid. And that's all run by Israel. All run by Israel through an operation called Operation Talpiot, which is a spy program. Israel is basically breaking the domestic spying laws of every single country on earth. It's accessing all data that everybody creates, all companies that create data programs. Israel's got spyware in there, or it's got an operative in the company that channels that back to Israel, which is why they get all the technology first. They create all the systems, all the surveillance systems. If you want a good security company to look after your company, you get an Israeli company, because they'll look after it best, because they've got the best software and all the best stuff. But they also put a back door in there so they can run the company. That's the way they do it, and they can steal everything the company's doing. This is what's going on with the Palantir software. But most of the wars are run because of the human trafficking that you get from wars. That's why we never see anything about it. I think some people touched on that today. You had a speaker earlier talking about 5G and another speaker talking about the global pedophile ring, I think. And this global pedophile ring is real. It's totally real, and everybody is involved in it. We saw with Jimmy Savile, you know, how many people are involved in it, the royals, everybody. There's so many high-level people that are involved in this. And the brownstone operations is how they get people. This is why we never get anywhere. You know, when we're trying to prosecute people, if you had a problem with a politician here and you try to prosecute them and get any real justice for them, you find that the judges and the heads of the police and the heads of all these major key points are all compromised, because they've all been compromised in brownstone situations. It's really easy to do this to people. You know, we live in a very sexually repressed society. We do. It's all very prim and proper. You can't think dirty thoughts. You can't do this. You can't do that. And so it's very, very easy to trap people with sexuality, trap them into, you know, go and get them drunk, get a young prostitute who's underage, film them with them, and that's it. You've got them. Then they're in your pocket. They'll do anything you want. And the first thing you get them to do is to get the high-level people down the chain and start compromising them. So you end up, everybody's compromised, so we never get anywhere. It's really important to understand this. And when we're looking at the world, what do we get from the world? We don't get any of this. We don't get any of this stuff addressed. All we get is war rhetoric. We get rubbish from these people. This is all Trump's done since he got to office, is stomp the war drums and bang the war drums like every other president. You know, all under the guise of helping the people, of course. And all he's done is completely capitulate to Israel. No matter what he does, no matter what the truthers think he is in America, and it's really important to bring America into the equation, because America is the military machine that's running this whole show. Whether it's run by the Vatican or whether it's run by, you know, American interests or Jewish interests or British interests or European interests or whatever, you can go down any rabbit hole you want. But looking at what the mechanism is, it's the military machine that's carrying out all this mayhem. A lot of it is being run by Israel for the Greater Israel Project, and that's all Trump's done is capitulate to Israel since he took office. Of course, Israel needs all this help. Tel Aviv, it's under such a threat. Look at the place, who'd want to live there? And it's threatened by Gaza Strip, of course. Gaza Strip is such a threat to Israel, and it has to be. I mean, they have to take this action against Gaza Strip, of course. These are Palestinians going to work, and of course they have to do it because they're all terrorists. Bibi Netanyahu will tell you that every baby born in Gaza is a terrorist, and it's just completely out of balance anyway. But they need all the help. But of course they need the help against the Palestinians because the Palestinians are all trained to hate the Israelis, even though we see these pictures of Israeli kids being trained to use heavy automatic weapons and everything like that. So we've tried to address this issue for years. I've tried to address this issue for five or 6 years to let people know what's going on in Palestine and the key that it has to basically save the world. Save Gaza, save the world. I put out a video, who saw that a few years ago, a couple of years ago? I put out a short video called Save Gaza, Save the World. Because Gaza Strip, what's going on in Gaza Strip is a war crime. It's a breach of Article 33 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. It's an international war crime. Just the fact that it exists. Doesn't matter whether you support Israel, whether you support Palestine, doesn't matter what side you're on. It's a war crime. It's an open war crime being supported by thousands upon thousands of Western politicians. I guarantee the Prime Minister, President, whoever it is in this country is supporting Israel. You know, he's enacting legislation you guys don't like. How's that legislation valid when he's guilty of war crimes under his own legislation? This is an interesting loophole that people don't seem to look at. That's why I try to use Gaza Strip a lot to let people know what's going on. But nobody's interested. You try to tell people this stuff, you try to tell the kids, they're kind of busy doing other things. Most people are busy doing other things these days, I've found. Of course, they do go out and play sometimes. They do get out and they do get around and play outside. Sometimes they even take their pets for a walk. And that's good as well. But what's going on with this is this smart grid and this whole system. Everyone's so intent in looking at their mobile phones and everything that they do that they're not noticing what's going on around them. And one day they're going to look up and they're going to notice that there's eyes everywhere and there's ears everywhere, and the world is not the way they thought it was. And they've been too busy being distracted with all this stuff. The banging of the war drums. North Korea being the big threat. North Korea is such a threat, isn't it? North Korea is going to attack the United States. Of course it is. What a joke. What a joke. This is all to create posturing against China, the stuff that James was talking about. Where's James? He's probably here. The stuff he was talking about with China, this is all related. It's all part of the same theatre. It's all part of the same play. But will it even happen? Will it even happen? That's the question. You know, what happens when countries go to war? You notice that? What happens when the countries go to war? If Donald Trump's got a problem with the government of China and the two countries are going to go to war, why don't they go and bomb the capital of China, you know, the government buildings, and why doesn't China come and bomb Washington, D.C., you know, the Pentagon and the White House and all this sort of stuff? They don't do that. They go and bomb all the people. The governments have got a problem, so we kill all the people, and then we work it out. Because they all drink together, they all plan it. Who's going to be the bad guy this week? Who's going to be the good guy this week? It's all one big charade. The whole thing's a charade. And we just sit there and we think everything's great, everything's going really well, not a problem, but there's all this shit going on in the background that we're not paying attention to. There really is. And so much of this is theatre. And I've gone down so many rabbit holes in the last few years, and I've tried to figure out what's going on. I've found so many people to point the finger at. But you get to the point that no matter who you point the finger at, nothing ever changes, nothing ever works. There's no mechanism we can put in place, no legal mechanism we can put in place to change things. And even if we do, even if we were to arrest every politician in the Western world, the entire Technocracy, underneath it is this whole grid being rolled out, the whole smart grid, the whole 5G grid, all the stuff that you've heard about earlier today. And the 5G grid, the smart grid, is the end game. It really is. You know, where they're going with all this is the end game. And we're not going to stop the wars by, you know, protesting in the street and doing all these things we're doing. We've got to really start indulging in right behaviour ourselves and simply not going along with any of this. And we've really got to think about how we're being led. We really do. We've got to think about all of this stuff and think about how we're being played. Because like Orwell said, the war is not meant to be one, it's meant to be continuous. It's always meant to be continuous. And like I said, what it's about really is a human harvest. The human harvest that's coming out of these wars is absolutely phenomenal. It really is. Just in Syria, 15,000 children in 6 years. 15,000 kids have had their organs harvested in Syria in the last last 15 years. Because you think about it, you go into a war zone, you go into Syria, and there's a village there. You're going to bomb this village and take over the country. You want to secure the village. Well, what are you going to do with the people? Obviously, the men may be a threat, so you grab them, you send them off to work in work camps, salt mines, whatever. If they won't work, kill them, harvest their organs. You get the women, you take them, you put them in these brothels to run all the mines and all that sort of stuff. If they set them up as sewing houses and seamstress houses, but they're just brothels. And if they won't work, well, you harvest their organs. Once they're burnt out, harvest their organs. Get the kids, they sell them to rich Arabs or send them down to Haiti to be processed and sent up to pedophiles in the United States or Europe or whatever. It's a resource, it's a valuable resource. People are the first resource in war. That's what they do. This is a Syrian kid found in a dumpster. And it's rampant. This is Malaysian kids. And this is why. This is why. You look at the value of all this. Look at the value. Your kidneys, $262,000 for your kidneys. Well, I'm going to kill you if I can harvest your kidneys. I can get 262 grand for your kidneys, 200 grand for your lungs, 157 grand for your liver, 119K for your heart. Your corneas in your eyes, $15,000. That's not bad. That's not a bad profit. Your bone marrow, $23,000 a gram for your bone marrow. And I can harvest that from you 2 weeks after you're dead. That's pretty good. That's about $43 million for a healthy person. Why are all the wars in the Middle East? They don't drink. Good healthy organs in the Middle East. No alcohol in the Middle East. Good source of healthy organs for the United States, for European aristocracy and all this sort of stuff. How many people have bone marrow transplants? Where's all the bone marrow come from? It comes from war zones. This is why the wars are meant to be continuous. That's what they do. Wars are meant to be continuous. Never forget. In the 20th century, 262 million people killed by their own governments. The leading cause of death in the 20th century, apart from probably heart disease, you could probably attribute that to government as well because of the shit they feed the people. So, it's all part and parcel of the same thing. 262 million people killed by their own governments. And that's not to mention people killed in war zones and organs that are harvested the way I've just been talking. This is what's going on in the world. This is why we don't see any fix to this problem, because we just comply with all this. We just go along with it. We pay protection money to the governments. We pay our taxes. We do all this stuff. Yes, please leave me alone. It's all good. You go have that war over there. Just leave me alone. I'm a good boy here. Have your hand out. It's protection money. It's racketeering. Governments are racketeering. That's what they do. So if you really want to look at Trump, basically Trump's full of shit. He's dragging America down. And he's dragging the whole world down with him. And that's the plan. And it's always been the plan. Sorry for swearing, but that's the way it is. So what's going on underneath all this? While all this theatre's going on, like I said, we've got all of these issues to look at, but so much of it is just theatre. We can't fix these problems by addressing them in the way that we are. We can't fix war by marching in the street. We can't fix any of these problems by doing that. We can only fix these problems by withdrawing support from our governments and realising what they are. But even if we do that, even if we withdraw support from them, like I said, underneath is this whole smart grid. And what's the smart grid really about? That's the question, because that's what's coming online, the smart grid. And it's being sold to the world as convenience, like I said. All this stuff, you notice everything's being linked together. All your laptops, all your iPhones, everything's being linked together. Your computers are talking to you now, and it's presented to the world as a massive entertainment system. We've got Cortana on the Windows computer. We've got Siri on the iPad, on the iPhones. Someone recently bought an iPhone, and they decided they wouldn't switch Siri on, or on their new iMac or whatever laptop. And they decided they wouldn't switch Siri on. They didn't like it because they didn't like the idea of being listened to all the time. So they'd never activated Siri. And they were sitting there having a conversation with their husband, planning a trip to South America. And while they're talking about planning it, this little text has come up on the screen. I can help you with that if you activate me. It was Siri. It was listening to him anyway. And she went, oh my God, my life is over. My privacy is over. And I didn't even know. But that's the thing, they're listening to you all the time. I had some people in LA, a couple of girls were out talking about massage oil, creating your own massage oil. When she got home to her laptop, she punched up Google, got onto Facebook, and there's all these ads on Facebook for how to make massage oil. From her phone listening to her, you're getting this? This is all connected. This is how they're doing. So they're listening to everything you do, everything you say. That's what all this technology is about. They can listen to you through your fridge now. A new law just passed in Australia last week giving the federal police, the ability to turn on any smart devices for surveillance if they need to. And they got someone by listening through their fridge. You buy a smart fridge and it's got a microphone in it, and the police are listening to you anytime they were having a conversation in your kitchen with your wife. Oh, what's John up to today? Got a bit of a black mark against his name. What's he talking about over his morning breakfast conversations? Oh, look, he just said something. We got him. You know? And they got it. They got the conversation. They got it recorded. All legal, all allowed to. That's how they're doing it. They three words. Did anyone watch that Snowden documentary that Oliver Stone put out? Snowden? I don't really agree with a lot of Snowden. I don't know whether to trust him or not, but that was a good documentary. There was parts of that that showed how the NSA runs the surveillance system. All they've got to do is type in 3 words, and they can go, okay, well, what's this guy up to? Okay, let's look at him. He's married to this lady, and her brother is married to this girl, and this girl's brother is a junkie. Let's turn on his video camera and microphone and get some dirt on him and bring it back to mess you up. This is what they do, and they can do it with 3 key words. Anybody they choose, write in 3 key words, and they can turn on their laptop microphone, their laptop camera, even if it's turned off. If your laptop's open, they can turn on your camera and microphone and surveil you, listen, your phone, your television set, if you've got a set-top box, all that stuff, they can turn it all on, your fridge, everything. 3 key words, that's all they need, anybody in the world. And it all goes through that Palantir software. Cortana, here to help you. No problem. Answer all your questions. Did you see that, was it Ule talking the other day, said the Google search, or was it James, the Google search, so they're getting more than one result. Not good. They don't want you to get more than one result with anything that you search for. So total lockdown, total surveillance. You go and search stuff now. Someone was saying, it might have been Frank saying, you go and search for Charleston hoax, you get no results. No results on Google. Charleston hoax. It's a hoax. You get no results for the search. And all this, the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, folks, everything talking to everything else. You know, this is all being presented to us as something great. Like you said, you better walk into a store, you don't need any money, you can just walk in, pick up whatever you want from the shelf and walk out, it all gets taken out. What this is going to do is lead to a point where you're paying for every single aspect of your life, every single action you perform. Because it'll be to the point where you can turn on your tap, watch a credit drop. You know, turn on your toaster, watch a credit drop. Turn on your TV, watch a credit drop. You ever see that show Black Mirror on TV? Anyone ever watch that TV show? There was one episode, I've only seen 2 episodes of it, but there was one episode where they were just paying for everything and they spent their whole life riding these bikes, just building up credits so they could pay for every single aspect of their life. That's kind of where we're heading with this Internet of Things. And it's a surveillance grid and it's a control grid. And if you're someone who's doing like a bit of massage for someone or doing a tarot reading for someone, a little bit of stuff on the side that you do, selling a little bit of weed, whatever, the only way you're going to be able to have that transfer of cash is digitally. So the government will get a tax on everything and knows every transaction everybody's performing, and it's going to want to know why you're doing all of this stuff. And in this world that is being created, there will only be 2 types of people that are in that world, classed by the machine that runs it, and there'll be desirables and undesirables, and that's the way we're going. And it's all being sold to the world as this beautiful thing, transhumanism, enhancement, all that sort of stuff. But what really is it? What really is it? What really is this smart grid that we're being set up for? It's not just connectivity. It's not just being able to do everything at the touch of a button. A lot of people think it's leading towards the end of the human race, and the human race is in decline. And we are very much in decline as well. I don't know if anybody here heard a recent radio show I did where I talked about the sperm count. The male sperm count has dropped about 50% in the last 50 years, and it's continuing to decline. This is through all the plastics and phthalates and all the stuff that's in our food, all the stuff that we're consuming. Plastic bottles, plastic water, water bottles, all this sort of stuff. Even dishwashing liquid, the stuff that's in the dishwashing liquid, the stuff that's in hair conditioners, the stuff that your couch is made of, the stuff that your carpet's made of, the paint on your walls. It all contains phthalates, it all contains synthetic estrogens. And it's changing everything. There's a lake in Canada where the runoff from people's drains, dishwashing liquid mainly, and hair conditioners and shampoos is going into this lake. And it's changed the sexual makeup of the lake. The alligators born there now used to be 50% female, 50% male, roughly. Now they're about 90% female and 10% male. And all the males have been born with stunted genitalia. So They're just basically being led into a point where we can't breed. And again, problem, reaction, solution. Why would they be doing this? Is it just to wipe out the human race, or is to create a reason for them coming in to help us to fix these problems? Because they always want to help us, don't they? Well, you know, it turns out that they do want to help us. They're working on it now. Now they can create artificial sperm using stem cells in the lab. Just because people are having trouble with the sperm count. The sperm count's dropping, so we need to be able to create artificial sperm because we're trying to help. That's what it's all about. And they're also working on creating artificial wombs. So the ladies won't have to lose their figures. We can get this artificial sperm, just harvest a few eggs and put them with there. And I always thought that was what they were going to do. They'd just be able to harvest eggs, use the artificial sperm, create the humans that they want. But now they're able to create artificial eggs as well. They create artificial eggs and artificial sperm from stem cells, so it eliminates the need for humans. And it says that they're doing this through genetically engineered stem cells. So it's all about genetic engineering. Of course, like I said, they're doing it to help us. To help us. It's going to make everything great and make your heart warm. You know, they're really good, the government. They really want to help us. Of course, it couldn't be that they're doing anything to hinder us to begin with. Couldn't be any of the problems are being caused by the environment that they're putting us into. None of that, no. It's all just a matter of course. And they're really promoting this whole transhumanist agenda as well. When I was travelling between Hawaii and the United States, I saw this National Geographic magazine in the airport. I took a photo of it. Very interesting cover, you know, leading us towards transhumanism. It's got at the top there, climate facts. Climate facts. Get their facts from them, folks, you know. Climate change. And you look at this. You look at the whole thing. You notice how everybody's got one eye showing. Interesting, huh? Except for the monkey at the back. He's kind of looking around the corner going, what the fuck are you people doing? You know? And this guy, the second guy, he's sort of going, oh my God, we've lost it. You know, and here we go to this brave new future, you know. And where are they going? Beyond human. Beyond human. What does that really mean? It's all sold to us as being something really great. You know, technological versus natural selection. Do it yourself evolution. You know, science fiction becomes reality. And really selling it and promoting it to people. This is great, isn't it? When I met cyborg Neil Harbison in Barcelona, he looked like any local hipster except for the black antenna arching impressively from the back of his head, from the back of his skull. It wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's got an antenna sticking out of his head. It's like, I might get one of those. That's a nice trendy fashion accessory, arching impressively from the back of my skull. You know, so it's just a scam, folks. It's a scam. Now, I mentioned in my film Transformation that this whole transhumanist agenda is being pushed through vaccines and chemtrails and all of this stuff. We're being kind of, this whole transhumanist thing, you know, a lot of people look at it and they think it's going to be eye patches and little add-ons and the Borg, and we're going to get things like that guy had in his arm that I showed you before. But really, what if we're being changed from the inside out? Through vaccines and chemtrails and the food and all the stuff that they're feeding us. There's actually a doctor now who's saying the same thing, that this is what vaccines are for. Vaccines, there was a very, very interesting talk that I saw actually at AV8 in England. And when the video of AV8 comes out online, look up a talk by this guy, Dr. Graham Downing. It was a fantastic talk. He's a medical doctor, and he basically gives you the figures to show what they're doing with vaccines, how they're basically setting this environment up for transhumanism, and what they're also doing is weaponizing common diseases through vaccines. For example, if I give you a meningococcal vaccine, you know, I'll give you that vaccine, and that's tailored for one particular strain of meningococcal, and you will develop antibodies for that type of meningococcal. But if a hybrid strain comes along, a different strain that may have been manufactured and put out there, your body is going to start producing antibodies for the wrong strain of meningococcal, and that meningococcal is going to kill you because your body is incapable of producing the correct antibodies. That's what vaccines actually do. They are designed specifically for one particular strain of an illness, which effectively weaponizes all other hybrid strains of that illness. And he gave the figures. He showed how it all works. He showed you got to put 162 children in danger to save the life of one through vaccination. It's just completely off the charts what they're doing. But he put some really good figures out there to show what they're doing. But this is how they're doing it, folks. They're basically manipulating us from the inside out and bringing us into this 5G grid genetically. You know, see, it's going to start off with this Internet of Things and all this stuff, and you know, the waves that we're subject to. Now, did the guy earlier tell you about the millimetre waves and what they can do? This is basically military technology, these millimetre waves that the 5G grid operates on. You know, not only does it give us lightning fast communication, but underneath that is an active denial system. It's a weapons system. It's what they use for microwave cannons. It's what they use for all of these military things that they do, all sorts of military applications for 5G. So underlying that is this weapons system. And because this is what it's going to be, the 5G grid is going to be this weapons system, what are they really doing with it? Is this really to help us, or is it to just tie us up in this system? To tie us up? Because how's it all going to tie in with the whole transhumanist agenda? What's it really all about? Is it really just about 5G? You know, the radio waves and the wireless waves that we are swimming in now, that everybody takes for granted, are doing an incredible amount of damage. And when they go up to 5G, they're not going to just be doing more damage, but it opens up the possibility of all sorts of interaction with this organism from the outside field. It really does. Anyone looked at these photos that someone put out recently? This is a mobile phone sitting on the floor there beneath a step ladder. And that's the electromagnetic field that it sets up around the step ladder. That's just from being on your mobile phone. This is a person walking up the stairs carrying a mobile phone. They've kind of edited the person out of the picture. This is someone sitting, speaking on their mobile phone. You know, so these waves are all around us, and this is going to be absolutely intensified when this 5G grid comes online. And you look at these things, the D-Wave computers, the quantum computers. Anyone looked into the D-Wave computers? Very, very interesting stuff. These computers, they're building these computers out of DNA. They're using DNA to store the data on, because DNA is far more, you can put far more information on DNA than you can on silicon, of course. So they're creating DNA-based computers. And these are basically using GNA, which is DNA's chemical cousin. It's a nano DNA that's created, artificial DNA. And the DNA that they're creating the computers out of is 3-strand DNA. That's very interesting, 3-strand DNA. They're really bizarre looking things too. This is a quantum computer. Try putting a hard drive in that. Interesting. And they're really interesting. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they're just bizarre looking things. And they seem to sort of operate almost on a fractal type of manner. I mean, it doesn't even look like a computer to me, but that's a quantum computer. If you don't understand quantum computing, quantum computers are said to access the computers that exist in parallel realities, parallel universes, and get information from them. So they've got the processing power of all of their counterparts in different realities. And when they turn them on, they work, which is really interesting. So when you start looking at parallel dimensions and where we're all going with all this and where all this technology comes from, it's very interesting. I've often questioned where technology comes from. Was some sort of a wormhole open? Does AI already control some reality, and somehow it got in here and infected us? Is that what happened when they turned CERN on, when they opened that wormhole? Is that where the tech came from? Because we've made incredible leaps in technology. I don't know how the hell they're figuring this stuff out. But 3-strand DNA is what they're basing these computers on. So when you look at some of the stuff that's going on with us, is that what they're doing with us? Are they linking us up to these quantum computers through 3-strand DNA? Why are these quantum computers got 3 strands of DNA? Why is it DNA? Is that what they're doing? This whole 3-strand thing, is that what it's really all about? And I suggest, and other people suggest, and even the doctor that I was talking about as well is suggesting, that what they're actually doing is hooking us up without us knowing it. Now when you look at some of the things they do, some of the radiation that we're subject to, like airport scanners and mobile phones and televisions, microwaves, all of these things break our DNA. It's really interesting, like specifically airport scanners, the airport that you go through when you do the whatever, they break your DNA chain. So is this just to affect our health, or is it, why is it a specific frequency that's designed to break our DNA? I think it's really interesting. So if you had a 3rd strand of DNA in a computer, if you had a 3-strand DNA quantum computer and you wanted to hook this computer, this biological organism, which is all electrical. I mean, everything you experience is electrical. You know, you touch this, that's an electrical signal that goes to my brain that tells me I'm touching the bench. Everything we experience is electromagnetic, all the experiences we have. So it's very easy to interfere with that. They can set carrier signals in there. The voice of God. Ever remember anyone hear of the voice of God? Remember in Iraq in the first Gulf War, that column of troops that just got burnt out, that just all gave up their weapons and marched to the front, that wanted to give up, and they just firebombed them all. That was the voice of God. That was the technology they put in their heads. They all had this voice in their heads of Allah telling them to put down their weapons and go to the front. And they did. You know, the voice of God. David Shayler. Anyone know David Shayler? The guy who he exposed the 7/7 bombings and then suddenly thought he was Jesus Christ and started wearing drag. Very strange, a transvestite Jesus Christ. Suddenly after exposing these London bombings, he was staying in an apartment in England. And after staying in this apartment, suddenly he thought he was Jesus and started wearing women's clothing. And when he moved out of the apartment, there was a woman living in the apartment below him who said, "Oh my God, I'm glad he's moved out," she said to her neighbours, because now the voices have stopped. Because she had a voice in her head every night telling her she was Jesus, going all night in her head. So they must have been hitting her with a satellite or something, whatever. Flat earthers, satellites don't exist, sorry to offend anyone, whatever. But however, they had this signal that was bombed down on his apartment, putting this voice in his head, and the woman below was hearing it as well, and it stopped when he moved out. And then suddenly he thinks he's Jesus Christ. This is how they do it. So they're able to interact with this vessel, they're able to do it. And if they wanted to hook us up to the smart grid, and they wanted to put a third strand of DNA in our body without us knowing it, would they not need to break our DNA chain in order to create points for this third strand to bond onto? Just putting it out there, it's a possibility. And what's this stuff we're finding in everybody? Morgellons. What is Morgellons? What is the purpose of Morgellons? And Morgellons is in everybody. It's in everybody. You know, the people that are exhibiting signs of Morgellons are people who are rejecting the Morgellons, are rejecting the nanotech that's in them. But the nanotech's in everybody. We're breathing it. It's in the chemtrails. It's in the food. They did studies in Australia. There was a company who approached the Australian Food and Drug Administration and asked them why we are finding nanotech in popular sauces, dressings, cereals, sweets, lollies, all sorts of stuff. So if it's in Australian food, it's in Danish food, it's in American food, it's in everybody's food. There's nanotech in the food, nanotech being sprayed in the skies, and you're getting Morgellons. This is cultured from urine. You can get urine from anybody, get a blood cell from anybody, and you can put it in a petri dish and you can culture Morgellons fibres from it. Anybody. It's in everybody. The people that are exhibiting signs of it are like the canary in the coal mine. That's what's going on. So where are they going with this? They're hooking us up to this mainframe and without us knowing it, because that's where it appears to be going. And there was a study also put out recently, this whole AI thing that they're bringing online to control all this. And AI as well. A lot of people don't understand what AI is. A lot of people think of AI, artificial intelligence, okay? People will look at it and they'll think, well, AI is promised highly and it's delivering poorly, because when people think of AI, they think of, I'm just going to bring this stool around and talk to you for a while, folks. When people think of AI, they think of something that looks like me or looks like you and can stand here and interact the way we are. This is artificial intelligence. They expect a robot like Terminator or whatever. Something that is human-like and we can have a conversation with. And we're not getting that, so we think, well, AI really isn't a threat, it's not really doing what we thought it would do. But they don't understand what gives me the ability to sit here and talk to you like this is because my body is autonomic, my body is fully autonomic. If I had this vessel that I'm controlling here, that I inhabit, because this is where I live in this vessel, this is what I consider life to be, this is just what I'm walking around in. This consciousness could not function to be able to talk to you if I had to look after the workings of this vessel. If I had to sit here and think, oh, I've got to pump blood there, move this bone, heartbeat, breathe, blink the eye. You know, you're going to be sitting here just going, yeah, I'm working. You're not going to be able to do anything. You have to be autonomic in order to have any form of real consciousness. And what we are doing with the internet is we are creating an autonomic internet. So there's a differentiation between artificial intelligence and autonomic intelligence. Because you can't have artificial intelligence, you can't have... And why are we even calling it artificial intelligence? Because what it is it's a virtual world, so really it's virtual life. It's virtual life, it's not artificial intelligence. This is our left brain, intellectual, mono-thinking education that's even making us think this way. It's autonomic virtual life that we are creating, and it needs to become fully autonomic before it will have any semblance of what we perceive to be life or intelligence. We would call it intelligence, but really it's life. You know, you could think of the internet now as being like a child that's learning, but we're creating an autonomic system for it. With the 5G grid, for example, because the 5G grid is an active denial system, you know, underneath everything, underneath all the communication, everything is the ability for this to be turned into a microwave system, an active denial system like any microwave cannon. You put it around Copenhagen, everyone's got 5G, bang. Suddenly you're at war with France, France switches on your 5G, bang, microwaves Copenhagen, bye. Can't have that happening. So you have to create a protection around that system. If you're going to bring 5G online, you've got to create a protection around it. And this study that they're doing, they want to do this, and they've got this 15-year plan. And it says here, it's the nanotechnology-inspired grand challenge. Why would they even put this out? Why would they even be talking about nanotechnology-inspired grand challenge? So you can Google that paper, you'll find a PDF of that available freely online. You can go to my website, thecrowhouse.com, you'll find it there. Scroll down the home page, I've got a whole bunch of essential reading. This is part of it. But for this 5G grid to be there, and for this active denial system to be there, you've got to automate the response to hacking. You've got to make it fully autonomic to make it safe for the people. Otherwise, France will come in and microwave Copenhagen. Whatever, you know, China will microwave New York. That's the threat, isn't it? It's China and America. Let me get it right here. Got to keep up with the theatrics, you know. But you can't have that. So you've got to put in a system which can protect itself. So it needs to be autonomic. It needs to be artificial intelligence running it. Because you can't have that human error. You can't have that human delay. If France is going to microwave Copenhagen, you don't have time for someone to see the signal and go and push the button. By the time they do that, the city's already microwaved. You've got to have it fully automatically responsive. So you need to automate the response, you need to give it lethal autonomy. And they're talking about that as well. If you look at some of these things through here, and like I said, it's a national priority. And it says here, down the bottom here, achieve fully autonomous capability for sophisticated attack scenarios. Okay? So they've got to make it completely self-protective, like an immune system. The internet is basically getting its own immune system, and we're building it. We're giving it its own immune system. While we're tinkering around here trying to create a robot that looks like us and thinks like us, we're giving the internet its own immune system. And what is the internet? The internet is a virtual life of its own. It really is. And that may be a strange thing for people to think about. You know, could life inhabit a body? Could something that was simply a series of mainframes and simply a series of computers and hard drives and this energy actually be a life of some sort, like a child? And could everybody who's plugging in and interacting with the internet be like a neural node in the brain of this child that is learning from everybody who's doing all this stuff? And so that's kind of a way of looking at it, you know, where the internet's really going. You know, it's becoming autonomic itself, and when it becomes autonomic, that virtual life will come about by default. We're not really looking at it, and they're rolling it out really quickly. These are the new poles that they're bringing in Australia. Interesting stuff. Looks like something out of, you know, film Equilibrium or something like that. That's what it looks like. And really, this is where they're going, folks. This is where they're going. It's not being done to help us. But an autonomic system, it has to be autonomic in order to have intelligence of its own. And what they're doing with the internet, with this whole smart grid, the whole AI, they're setting it so it runs everything. So it's going to control every single aspect of our lives. And it's basing everything on economics, on economic value. So every aspect of your life and how it measures you will be according to your economic worth, because you have to pay for every action that you do, pay for everything. So it measures everybody according to economics. And like I said, you'll be desirable or you'll be undesirable. Either you participate in the system or you don't participate in the system. And if you don't participate in the system, well, they can just do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want with this grid, because you can target individuals with the 5G grid as well. You can target certain individuals and you can disable them while the police arrive, see what people are carrying, see if they're carrying money, see if they're carrying whatever. Now, it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing where they're going with it. And I've been looking at all this recently. I'll just put that up there again. And realise that we're given all this stuff to look at all the time. And all of these ideas and all these things that we think are going to work, and we're just sitting there wondering what the hell's going on the whole time. And all of it has been a distraction. All of this stuff has been so that we can have this 5G grid rolled out. Because we're given all these problems that we can never solve. You know, we struggle so hard to solve every problem, but we're just sitting there continually trying to lift humanity out of the abyss and get somewhere. and all we get is the same thing. It's just the same thing. The same life over and over again. We don't get any satisfaction from dealing with this system. We've got to realise that the only way we're going to get out of this is to disconnect from it. And look, the technology, there's nothing wrong with technology. It's just where they're taking it. It's just what they've done with the technology and where they've led us. There's nothing wrong with technology at all. It's just who controls the technology. The smart grid could be really good. It could be great. It could be fantastic for us. But the way it's being done is not, because it's going to be run economically, and it's being run by a Technocracy who really doesn't give a shit about anybody except themselves. And that's basically the truth of the matter. They don't. You know, this is a people farm. We're living in a people farm, ladies and gentlemen. You know, all the resources for this farm are being mined. And you think about it, you know, this whole money system, how do you run a perfect people farm? You get them involved in this whole usurious monetary system which provides scarcity. That's its whole purpose. The usurious monetary system provides scarcity. It creates the need for efficiency, the need for automation. You create a society where people are given different social standards to measure themselves up to, but in order to do anything, they have to work. They have to collect paper. In order to collect this paper, they have to exploit their environment. That's what you do. It's a perfect people farm. Control the history, control what people think about each other, pit them against each other, divide and conquer. That's the whole motto. That's how it all works. But we could disconnect from it all. You know, I finish every radio show with In Lakesh, the words In Lakesh, I am another yourself. And if we were to apply that approach to the world, we'd change the world. We would. We'd change it in a day if we stopped tolerating wrong behaviour, because all of this happens because we tolerate it. We go along with it all. You know, we could stop supporting the government, stop supporting the wars, stop supporting the smart grid. You know, because the smart grid is being rolled out underneath everything, and it's going to come online and people are going to wonder what happened. And it's coming online very, very quickly, very quickly. We've got about, well, it's being rolled out this year. They're starting to roll out the smart grid this year. They expect to have it completely rolled out by 2020, and they expect to hand it over to AI by 2025, according to that paper, the Nanotechnology Grand Challenge. They want to hand it over to AI by 2025. They have it fully autonomic. And when you look at it, anyone heard of Strong AI? Strong AI, you can look up on MIT website, look up bots, whatever, you'll find Strong AI. What is Strong AI? Strong AI is fully autonomic artificial intelligence. They tell you that's what they're working towards. They want the system to be fully autonomic. But when the system becomes fully autonomic, what happens then? What happens then? Once the system controls everything, once everything is automated, and it's controlling all the flow of electricity, all the control of flow of food, the control of everything. It's all automated, everything's just, our society's looked after. Well, where's the jobs for everybody? If we're in this society where we've got to pay to be alive, not that anybody wants to work anyway, but if you've got to, and you've got to collect credits in order to pay to be alive, where's the jobs if everything's automated? There might be really menial jobs in mines or whatever, but where's the jobs for the people? There won't be any. We'll become like the house cat, like Elon Musk said. The house cat for AI. But it's getting to the point now where it's being led somewhere even darker, because when it becomes fully autonomic and it controls all the flow of everything, we basically lose control of the internet at that point. And it dictates where we're going and what we do. And when you get a company that decides, well, hang on, we don't want a shipment flow to go there that day, we want it to go somewhere else, so we want to do something different, and they try to change it and the system won't let them, and they realise they've lost control of it, then they try to get into it and they try to regain control of the internet. And as soon as someone does try to regain control of the internet, then the internet protects itself and it has control of the 5G system. And if it sees all humans as a threat, well, it'll just eliminate the threat. Simple as that. Won't be anything malicious in it, it'll just do it. You know, that's a worst case scenario admittedly, but it's quite possible for that to happen because we are giving this internet full autonomic capability. And we're doing it ourselves by our greed, by our need for convenience, by our fear of others, by our fear of all these countries coming and bombing us or whatever. And it's just governments. It's just governments colluding with each other. Like I said, when two governments go to war with each other, how come they don't go and bomb the government buildings? They go and bomb all the people. It's just a scam. The whole thing's a scam. You know, so this is where we're being led with this system. We're being led into a situation where we're going to be completely under the control of this system if we don't stop complying with it. You know, one of the best things you can do at the moment to slow it down is to shop with cash all the time. Never use credit cards. Shop with cash in the real world. I mean, if you're going to buy stuff online, buy stuff online. But when you're out in the real world shopping at supermarkets, if it's an automated supermarket that won't accept cash, don't shop there. Shop somewhere else. You know, I don't even travel with a credit card. This really messes people up, I tell you. You know, I've got a debit card. I can put money in there if I want to spend it, and if I've got to check into a hotel, I can show them my debit card, but there's no money in there. I can't pay for anything with it. If you want me to pay for something with it, fine, get me a laptop, I'll log onto the computer, I'll go onto the internet, I'll transfer some money in there and I'll pay for it. But no, I can't access the internet with my smartphone because I don't own a smartphone. You know, I don't own a smartphone, I don't own a credit card, and I travel the world, and I take cash with me everywhere, and I shop with cash everywhere I go. It really messes people up, but I do it all the time because, you know, you need to make a stand. And just shopping with cash will slow things down. There's also, with this smart grid, there's a group that's just put out a video called In Power, the In Power movement. And they've actually stopped smart meters in Hawaii, I believe. And what they've got is a mass liability action, where basically if someone comes to put a smart meter on your home, you can say, well, you need to sign this document because you are going to be liable for any damage caused to my home or my health or anything by the installation of this smart meter. You are going to be personally liable. And what's happening with this is that the guys are freaking out, they're ringing their bosses, and the bosses are coming down, and a lot of the bosses are actually quitting their jobs over this, because otherwise they're going to be prosecuted as being liable. So this is a good movement, and it's using the system against itself. Again, you're not going to get any legal remedy from anything in this system, because the legal system is designed to tie us up in red tape, but all this sort of stuff slows it down, and it all creates public awareness of what this 5G grid is really going to do. You know, we could have good communication system that isn't 5G, isn't millimetre waves, it doesn't need to be what it is, and it doesn't need to be an active denial system. It's the fact that underlying this is an active denial system. Why would any government that cares about its people put an active denial system in place, blanket across the whole country, if they really didn't want to use it against the people? I mean, seriously, you think these people care about us? They don't. Like I said, they were the leading cause of death in the last century. That's government, you know. We don't need government, we need anarchy, we need self-governance, and that might freak a lot of people out, but we need anarchy. You know, of course it will be quite difficult to just go to an anarchist society right now because people simply aren't educated enough to look after themselves, but you know, we need a transitional period, but if we can regain control of the education system and regain control of the governments, maybe we can get somewhere. But in order to do that, we first need to regain control of ourselves. We really do. People have got to stop being in fear, and we've got to stand up for ourselves. Everybody's got to stand up for themselves. Do whatever you can to wake the world up and to empower people with the knowledge that you're giving them. And that's what I'm doing here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to come here and speak to you people. I love you all, but I don't want to be here. I want to be in the forest playing guitar and smoking weed. I don't want to do this. Yeah. Someone said to me the other day, last time I was here, I was with a guy who said, you've got to stop speaking about Israel so much, Max. It's really bad for your career. And I'm going, I have a career? Really? You know, well, your career as a filmmaker and public speaker. I'm going, I want to be a filmmaker or a public speaker. I want to go home, for God's sake. I don't want to do this. I want everyone to just stand up for themselves, because the government isn't this thing that can get you. It's just a building. It's just a building where guys just like you who do the same toiletries and have to wash themselves and, you know, wipe their ass in the morning, they go into these buildings and do this, you know, they're just people. They're not anything special, they're just people, you know, and they're actually your employees. And like I said, they're all war criminals anyway. Like you look at Gaza Strip, they're all war criminals. What makes any of their legislation valid? Anything they do to you, what makes any of it valid? None of it is valid. It's all rubbish, it's all mind games, mind control, the whole lot. Spells, it's spells. This guy can do this. Oh, it's the law. How is it the law? That guy in that suit over there, he wrote it down on a piece of paper. Oh, really? So now it's the law. We're going to let this guy come and destroy the world because you wrote down on a piece of paper that he can do it. What the hell is that? How do we ever let that happen, folks? Seriously, how do we let that happen? Am I running out of time, Frank? No. I have no idea what the time is or how I'm going. Yeah, that's all good. So you know, we've got to really take stock of things. So we're so distracted by everything. They just give us all this bullshit, all this stuff. Yeah, it's so much stuff to distract you with, everything. And then you go down all the rabbit holes trying to figure out what's going on, when really that's what we need. We need to embrace the warrior spirit, folks. Embrace the warrior spirit. Realize it's one man against the machine. It's you against the machine. Yourself. I can't save you. I can't lead you. No one can lead you to safety. No movement is going to do anything if we haven't changed what's in our hearts. And if we change what's in our hearts, everything has to change around us. You know? Like I live my life in a state of giving. If you go to my website, there's nothing to buy on my website. There's no subscriber section. I've never run any fundraisers. You know, I don't sell anything. All the films I make, I give away for free. I wrote a book, gave it away for free. Could never afford to get it published. You know, I sell Cumbo. I serve Cumbo to people, frog venom. I travel around the world serving frog venom to people. I do it to people for free. Now, I could be making hundreds of dollars every treatment that I give people, but I do it all for free, and I allow them to give me what they can. And I could make 10 times as much as I make, but I always make enough to get to the next town and help the next people. And because I do that, everywhere I go, I've got family. Everywhere. I've got family. I could go to almost any country on earth and just stay with people who love having me there, and I love being there with them. They're my family everywhere I go, because I live my life in a state of giving. You know, I turn 60 next month. I've never voted. I've never paid taxes. I've never indulged in the system at all. At all. You know? And if you live your life in that way, it works. It just works. The world opens up for you. And the world is not this big, ugly, dangerous place that people think it is. It's a place full of beautiful people, really confused people, people who just want a better life and just want to be heard. Most people just want to be listened to because they've never been listened to in their whole life. You know, I got a little thing that I do with people. You know, you could get people, you could even do it here if you want. We could have 10 minutes off. But you could... you know, you pair up with the people. You get someone and you just ask them, write out this thing, you know, what would you most want to do in your life is blank. What is it about yourself that prevents you from doing this? And most people will start telling you about what they feel bad about themselves, the flaws they have in themselves. Well, I can't do this because I'm just, you know, I'm too this or I'm too that. And it's the bits that they dislike about themselves the most. And just by you listening to them actually being able to tell you this about themselves, because no one's ever fucking listened to them before. You know, just you being able to listen to them and them being able to tell you, it heals those blockages in people. And suddenly they realise that these blockages aren't there and they can go and do this. There wasn't really anything stopping them at all. It was all in their mind. But no one ever listened to them. They never had a chance to express themselves. And you should try it with people. Try it with a friend. Just try it sometimes. Do a little exercise and just write that down and get them to answer and just listen to them for 10 minutes and don't interject. Because we do that all the time. You notice that? Someone comes and tells you a story, oh, such and such happened. Oh, yeah, well, when that happened to me, right? And we turn it into us and suddenly it's about our story. And we tell them our story thinking we're going to heal them when all they wanted to do was tell us their story. They just wanted someone to listen to them. And we never gave them a chance, you know. You can really make a lot of difference to the world by doing that for people, just listening to them. Like I said, folks, life is wisdom's dare. It's wisdom dare, and everything they've done everything they can to squash us. They've done everything they can to destroy us. One of the things they've done to destroy us is this stuff. This stuff. I always like to bring this stuff up. Anyone research this stuff? I research this all the time. All the time. Every day I'm researching this plant. Heavily involved in my research I am. This is mankind's companion plant, folks. This is mankind's companion plant. When they outlawed this plant, everybody got sick. Around about 1930s, everybody got sick when they outlawed this plant. This balances your body. Just juice the leaves, juice the heads, juice the plant, drink it in your juices, have it in your salads. It's really good for you. It doesn't get you stoned when you eat it like that. But you can get the resin off the heads, make the oil, cure cancers. I've cured 15, 16 people of terminal cancers. Terminal. Oh no, I'm going to die. One guy, 6 months to live, came to me with a pound of weed. Max saved me. I've got throat cancer. Give me 6 months to live, given up everything, tried the chemo, tried this, tried that. 6 months to live. Pound of weed, cooked it up into oil, gave it to him. 3 months later, came back with a clean bill of health. Thank you, Max. Here's a bottle of Jack Daniels. What am I going to do with the Jack Daniels? Great stuff. I saved your throat, so you're trying to destroy my liver. Excellent, you know. But it was a nice thought, you know. It's still sitting on the shelf at home. But, you know, 3 months and I cured throat cancer, terminal throat cancer. You know, I've cured pancreatic cancer. I've cured testicular cancer. I've seen a brain tumour reduced from the size of a golf ball to the size of a pea. I've seen an autistic child showing an 80% improvement in motor skills by consuming the oil of this plant. You know, they banned this and everybody started getting sick. And that's the fact of the matter. And it's mankind's companion plant. And I consider the outlawing of this plant to be a crime against humanity. So yeah, any politician that's still supporting the outlawing of this plant is just simply not intelligent enough to hold the office that they're holding. Either that or they're corrupt and bought and paid for, you know? But it's an incredible plan. It's an incredible plan, and that could save the world as well. I mean, even the plastics that we're using that I mentioned before, that are destroying all the sperm count, all these petroplastics and stuff that we're using, we could be making better quality plastics out of this that are actually really good. Henry Ford made a car in the 1950s out of plastic that he got from hemp, sisal and flaxseed, and you couldn't put a dent in this thing with a 10-pound sledgehammer, you know? And then you can take the hurd out of the stem and you can mix it with concrete, and mix it with lime, and it petrifies. Like the powdery hurd out of the centre of the stem, mix that with lime and it turns to stone overnight. Petrifies. That's amazing. This is a plant that petrifies. You can build your houses out of it. Build a house to put the car in that you've milled out of the plastic. And you can make the upholstery out of really nice hemp seeds. And then you can make nice clothing out of the hemp as well. And it's the best food you can eat. The seeds, the hemp seeds, it's a whole food. It's one of the only whole foods, if not the only whole food on the planet. You can actually live on hemp seed alone without anything else. It contains everything you need to survive. You can build your houses, build your clothing, build everything out of this plant. Grows in 3 months. Why did they ban that? It was also the basis of all medicines. All medicines, before they banned it, they used to use hemp tinctures as the basis for all medicines because it's a really easy vector. It's, you know, you've got a cannabinoid system in your body. It's there for a reason. What other plant do you have an endocrine system in your body for? Do you have an endo-rhubarb system? Endo-potato system? Endo-lettuce system? Endo-meat system? None of this stuff. You have an endocannabinoid system. Every animal with a spine has an endocannabinoid system because it's our companion plant. Absolute crime outlawing this plant, folks. You know, speak about that. But again, this is another issue. This is another issue. You know, understand that all your politicians are war criminals. Every politician in the Western world that's supporting the state of Israel is a war criminal. Why are you doing what they say? You know, if law is supposed to be real, if we've got this stuff that people can write down on paper, if it's a paper-based reality like they tell us, you know, they've got to do this because they wrote down on paper that it's law, well, there's a piece of paper called the Fourth Geneva Convention that says you're a war criminal. So how is your law valid? You know, explain to me how your law is valid when you can be shown to be a war criminal under your own law. And you should be taken to the Hague and hung under your own law. Explain it to me. You know, this is something that I noticed with the activist groups and the Palestinian activist groups and all activist groups. They're all controlled. Activist groups are there so that you'll feel good by going and helping the Palestinians or going and helping the whales or whatever. Fukushima, Save the Oceans, join Greenpeace, whatever. It's all controlled. Join any of those organisations and try to make a difference. See how far you get. You won't get anywhere. They're designed to channel your energy into this area and perpetuate the problem. There's something like 1,200 or 1,700 NGOs in Gaza Strip that are all receiving funding and all this stuff to fix up Gaza. They're doing nothing except raking in the money. And that's all it is. Hamas, they're just raking in the money. Who does Hamas work for? Are they Palestinian resistance? Bullshit. Hamas works for Israel. The only reason Gaza's there is because Hamas are there. The only reason Gaza's under siege is because Hamas are there. And every little rocket they send over into Israel gives Israel an excuse to bomb Gaza and cry, oh my God, the terrorists, help us, give us more funding. What, $7 million a day? Or $11 million a day, I think Barack Obama or Trump put it up to. It was $7 million a day that they're getting from the United States. You wonder why the United States looks like a dilapidated car yard. It does. It's terrible. You go to the United States. I drove from, I was over there last year. I spoke at the Free Your Mind conference. And I drove from Philadelphia up through Pittsburgh to Ohio. Like, whoa, this is like driving through America's armpit. You know, and it was like driving through America's armpit. It was just this, you know, like a cross between a dilapidated warehouse and a used car lot punctuated by chemical plants and bomb factories. It looked like Mordor run by Smurfs on crack. You know? That was the impression I got of the United States. That was just that area. And then you go to LA, and LA is a mess. Beautiful people in LA, lovely people, and it's a mess. It's dilapidated. You know, even if there's something beautiful there, there's something really ugly right next to it. And the water is terrible, and the people are just down and depressed, and the city of lost angels, you know, really well named. You know, I did the last radio show a couple of shows ago, a pre-recorder, and I did the first half in the country, beautiful place out at Acton, really nice, positive energy in the show. Didn't have time to finish it, recorded the second half on the Sunset Strip, Hollywood police sirens, car chases, you know, Hollywood High across the road, just going off, you know. The whole energy was different, you know. Like, wow, yeah, well, this place really doesn't have much of a heart, city of lost angels. But that's America. It's just unbelievable what they've done, you know, completely dilapidated. And all of this stuff, folks, this is the key to fixing all that. I mean, every politician in the United States, for a start, signed the AIPAC Treaty. The AIPAC Treaty pledges allegiance to Israel, so you're signing allegiance to a foreign power in order to get funding to run for office in the United States. Can anyone see a problem here? You know, so there's the key. That could solve everything if the United States would simply look at the same thing. So why aren't any of the Palestinian activists talking about this? Why aren't any of the groups, you know, volunteer aids abroad, all this stuff, the Palestinian groups, the Palestinian liberation groups, all this stuff, why aren't they talking about that? The fact that Gaza Strip is a war crime and every politician in the Western world who is supporting it can be arrested right now under their own law. You know, and this solves all the problems, but that involves people actually getting involved in the legal system and rah. And even if we do that now, the problem is that we don't have time to pull it off. And that's what I've been looking at this whole conspiracy thing lately and looking, why is it all there? Why is it all in our face? Why did they make 9/11 so obvious? They made 9/11 so obvious because they wanted to weed us all out, find out who they all are. And someone asked in Ollie's presentation, why do they make it so obvious? Because they want people to see it. They want people to see it. They want more people to see it. Who are they? Who are the awake ones? Let's get them all. Let's get tabs on everybody. Let's find them all. That's why they do it. And we will be focused on that. We'll be trying to focus on people to wake them up to this was a false flag and wake them up that this is going on and wake them up that this is going on. Get these people. Why? Why are we even speaking out against Hillary Clinton? Because what? We want to get her and we want to prosecute her? Well, that'll be great. Why not? We'll arrest her. We'll put her in there. There'll be a trial. Okay, it'll be a year before that goes to court. Then there'll be a committal hearing. There'll be another year. By that time, the whole smart grid's online. Everything's online. We've got all of these things to argue about, all these people to point the finger at because we're not noticing this whole smart grid. And they put it in our face now because it doesn't matter what action we take against them. Doesn't matter what we do, we won't get anywhere. They own the legal system. Everybody's compromised. They've all been brown-stoned. They're all compromised, all of them. We won't get any remedy that way. The only remedy we will get is if we can respect each other and disconnect from this system ourselves and start behaving like human beings again. And allow people to think differently, for God's sake. It doesn't matter whether you believe the earth is round or flat, okay? We're all fighting the same battle here. Let's not be in two camps, you know? Because it doesn't matter what you think is going on, ultimately you don't know because you're not free enough to know. And all you can have is people like myself and James and Ule and all us get up here and offer you our perspective of what we think is probably going on. And you can see it pretty clearly when you step and look back, but do any of us actually know? No, we don't, because we're not free enough to know. And we need to establish that freedom because we have a real chance for freedom now by simply stepping back from the matrix and seeing it for what it is. Pull down the glasses, take off the veil. It's just people here running this whole shit show. And we don't have to go along with it. Whatever's behind it, whatever you think is behind it, whether it's some dark force or whether it's aliens or whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't know. And we will find out once we get free, but we've got to establish that freedom. We're not going to get that unless we can allow each other to think differently and allow it, just respect each other. You know, we don't know. We'll find out. But we're all in the same battle here. In Lakesh, I'm another yourself. You just have a different perspective than me because you've had access to different information. You've formed different opinions, different ideas, maybe adopted different belief systems. This is a computer, a biological computer, and operates according to software. It's what the software is installed. You know, people could say, well, you know, what would happen if they were to clone you, Max? If they were to use your DNA and create another you that was a clone of you, would that person think like you and behave like you? Depends on what software is installed along the way. Depends on what experiences it has, because all this is software, all programs. That's why they call the TV shows programs, folks. Oh, the next program. We don't even think we're being programmed, and then they tell us we're being programmed. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. We just go along with all this shit. But yeah, it's the software installations. So we've got to get back to ourselves, I think. That's the answer. That's the key. That's how we get out of this. To remember that we're human beings and we can do this together and we can think differently. Break the chains, folks. Break the chains. And call things for what they are. Really face things for what they are. You know, don't be politically correct about stuff. Don't beat around the bush. If you see a problem, call it out for what it is and name it for what it is. But don't do it, you know, aggressively, angrily. Even with the system, I mean, I speak out against the system because it needs to be done. I speak out, call Hillary Clinton a pedophile, a warmonger, or whatever, because she is. I don't hate her for it. Oh, you know, if I had to defend myself against her, or if a police officer came and attacked me, or anyone attacked me, I would defend myself against them, but not out of hatred for them, out of love for me, out of love for you guys. I do what I do out of love for the human species, not out of hatred for them, you know? You know, that's the wrong energy to be in. You shouldn't ever do anything out of hatred. And if someone comes and attacks you, repel the attack. But don't ever become the attacker. Don't ever become what they are. You know, you can repel them to the point that they just stop the attack. If they keep going and you have to kill them, well, they killed themselves, really. You know, you didn't want to do it. And I'd do that, and I'd feel sorry that I was doing that. I wouldn't want to do it, but I'd do it nonetheless because it needed to be done. It's the same as this. It needs to be done. You know, so people have got to remember, you know, face the things. That's what it's about. That's what this experience is about. It's about the path. It's about the journey. And no stake in the outcome. You know, why do you care if something happens? I mean, really, you're only here for a little while. It's about what you do with it. I prefer to die on my feet than on my knees. I really would. And I'm not going to take a backward step to these people. I never have, and I never will. And if you stand in that, there's nothing they can do about it. There's really nothing they can do about it. Even times when I've gone to court and stuff, I've just stood in that, and there's nothing they can do about it. You know, you go to court and they say, you're going to represent yourself? I go, no, I am myself. I don't have to represent myself. You know, but you go to court, you say, I can't speak for myself. This is my name, this all capitals thing that's written with my last name backwards. It doesn't even look like my name. This is my name, and I can't speak, so you speak for me. So you basically said, you're a dumb idiot, this guy's got to speak for you, and you're going to get what you want. You're going to get what they give you. Go and speak for yourself and realise that the person you're speaking to is just a person, and you can talk to them like a person. You know, I've had great success with that approach, and in my life with that approach, just in being who I am, and just not understanding why anyone thinks that they have a right of ownership over me. I just don't understand why anyone would think that. And I'm always asking these questions when they try to control me, and it's worked. So, you know, you be nice about it, but it does work. Just think for yourself, folks. Think for yourself. Don't you love this picture? What can I say? I don't even know what to say about that picture. But that is society. There's no fence there, folks. Just the gate. Just the gate. There's no fence. You know, we do what we're trained to do. Yeah, think for yourself, folks. That's an incredible picture, isn't it? But, you know, if we just got along, if we just helped each other, it would work great. It works for the animal kingdom. When they're in trouble, they help each other out. Not a problem. Doesn't matter about cross species, black and white. It's all good. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Go. But we do that, folks. We can create any reality we want. We really can. You know, we've got to remember who and what we are. That's what it's always been about. That's what this whole system has been about, is us forgetting who and what we are. You know, that's what they've trained us to do. We do that, we'll rise up. We can be like a phoenix from the ashes. And really, if we were to stand against the system, what are they going to do? Really? What are they going to do? You remember that little video put out by Larkin Rose a few years ago, the tiny dot? Everyone see that? Great video. If you haven't seen it, get onto YouTube and just look up the tiny dot. It's great. I think it was the thing that really brought Larkin to public attention. Great video. But what are they going to do, folks, if we suddenly respect ourselves and say, hey, we're going to go this way now? You can invite the politicians along if they want, but otherwise they can go live somewhere else. I've always thought it'd be a great idea to get every politician in the world who wants to have a war and put them all on Christmas Island and give them a hammer each and let them have their war. We could video it. You could put it on a game show on TV. Mention the ratings. It'd be great. Let me get the last guy who's left, who killed the last, put him up on a pedestal and shoot him in the head. Bye, that's the gene pool gone, you know. But yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be great? That's a great idea with the politicians. Put them in one of the refugee camps in the centre of Australia or something where they put all the real people, you know. We don't need to do what these people say, folks. We don't need to do what they say. We need to look after these guys. We really do. We really do. And this slide just seems to find its way in to all of my talks. I don't know how. I try to leave it out, but it just seems to get in there. But that's basically the talk, I think. What's the time? Are we good? Are we good? That's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you very much. That's my website. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, thank you. I stand for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sit down. Who wants to talk to me? Let's talk. Let's talk about stuff. Any questions?
Thank you very much for a nice presentation. You were talking about DNA strains before, and you mentioned that we might have 3 strains. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Well, the third strand of DNA is just the fact that the D-Wave computers that they're building contain 3-strand DNA. And you look at Morgellons, and you're trying to figure out what Morgellons is. I mean, I was just putting that out there, you know, as a possibility that they're putting a third strand of DNA in us. That's what Morgellons syndrome is. And it's not inconceivable that that third strand of DNA will be used to piggyback a carrier wave to hook us up to this grid, you know, in this transhumanist world. You look at some of the things they've done with CERN and some of the weird experiments lately, like the Mandela effect. Who's heard of the Mandela effect? How bizarre is that? You know, what is that about? That's really weird shit. You know, is that a memory replacement, or have they actually managed to change reality in some way? Or is it simply a memory replacement? Did they manage to put out a signal possibly through monitors or something to do that? So with this third strand of DNA, would it be possible to hook us up to this D-Wave computer and then simply change everybody's memory so people don't know that they were once not in that reality? You know, is it possible to move us into a virtual reality without us really knowing that they're doing it? And there's a lot of research. If you look up third strand DNA, look up programmable matter, smart dust, stuff like this. There's a few links on my website you'll find in the headlines if you scroll down through recent headlines. But it's very interesting where it's going. But it appears that these D-Wave quantum computers that are going to be operating on 3-strand DNA, it really appears that that's what they may be using to hook us up to the grid, this third strand of DNA. And it's anybody's possibility. It's pretty out there. I mean, it's pretty out there. But like I said, Dr. Graham Downing that I've been talking to, he's a medical doctor and he agrees with what I'm finding. And there's other sources as well that are all leading towards this. And just when I'm finding it coming from multiple sources, it starts to gain a little bit of credibility, you know. And like I said, all I can offer you is a perspective, put it out there, see what you think. But if it's a possibility, it's good to be aware of it, to be aware of what they're doing with this smart grid and to be aware of what these radio waves are capable of. You know, I mean, and knowing what your body is, electromagnetism really affects your body, it affects everything. Everything you do is electromagnetic. You know, you are an electromagnetic being, essentially. So, yeah, in the way, like with the voice of God, the way they're able to put voices in people. So there's a place in Japan where they put holograms out the front of the shop, and people were complaining that when they walked past the shop, they were having little voices in their head telling them to go in and buy stuff, and actually complained to the management that they need to stop doing that, it's an invasion of my privacy, you know. So they can do this sort of stuff. So with the third strand of DNA, I just think it'll make it that much more possible. And it seems to be very conceivable. That's what they're doing. It seems to make sense for why they're breaking our DNA chain in various points and what Morgellons is really for. So yeah, just putting it out there. Anyone else?
Hi. First, thank you a lot for the inspiring wake-up call for all of us. I listened to a lot of your interviews online. And actually, one of the questions you just asked about Mandela effect, one of the guys you interviewed, John Lash, already went around that a lot. That it was actually, in fact, let's just say Mother Earth trying to wake up call us. And look into that more, because he has some awesome insights about the energy and how we are powerful if we decide to be for the good of it.
We are very powerful. Interesting character, John. Very interesting character, John Lash.
Yeah, I'm John Kroll.
Hello, John.
Hello. I guess it could be key to be activistic against the installation of smart meters in our homes. I heard you saying something that we should use a line or some wording against the authorities that insist that we install these smart meters. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah, well, there's a group put together by Josh DeSol. He put out a group called Take Your Power Back. And he's just put out a video called In Power. You can go to www.inpowermovement.com, and they explain on the video what they've done. I was actually speaking to him on Skype the other day. I intend to have him on the radio show for an interview next week to explain how it's all going to be done. So look out for next Friday's radio show. And but what they're doing is a liability action, a liability notice that anybody who comes to put a smart meter on your home, you give them this liability notice. You sign it. It's all their law, so it's using their system against themselves. And what you're doing is basically saying, well, look, regardless of your company, you're the person who's coming and putting this dangerous device on my home, so you are liable for doing that. And if there's any damage, any health issues or whatever, you are going to be liable. You're going to be held liable for it, and you're required to sign this before you can walk onto my property. And this is going to be for rentals as well. I mean, when you rent a house, it's still your property according to law. This is your home, your abode. You can say what goes on there. So this notice of liability is putting the onus on them and putting the responsibility on them. And like I said, the workers end up going back to the company and giving it to the boss, and some of the bosses are actually quitting their jobs over this. So it is having an effect, and I believe it's had a major effect in Hawaii. So it is working, and it is a movement that people can get involved in on the ground, using the legal system against itself. And it's effective because it wakes people up in a language they can understand. I mean, we all know the legal system's fiction, but the masses out there, they all think it's real. They all do what the paper says, and if you come along as some sort of an activist and want to do anything too anarchistic, you're going to freak them out. So by using this approach, you're speaking to them in their language, and you are making a difference. So I urge everybody to get involved and support the In Power movement. One down here. And also, if you want to look at Israel, if you want to know what's going on about Israel, is that Nick? Yeah, that's who I was going to... I meant to mention you in my talk. When I did the Israel bit, I was going to say, if you really want to know what's going on with Israel, this guy put out a book called Breaking the Spell, Nick Colostrom, Breaking the Spell. Anyone read that? You need to read it. It's a really good book, and it'll tell you exactly what's going on with what happened in World War II. And it's a bit of an eye-opener. It's something that's very taboo in Europe. But nothing is what it seems, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Mark, so, hello.
Yeah, it's working. Just speaking to the front.
Yeah, if you don't mind me mentioning subject, is Ken O'Keefe making a comeback, or has he cooked his goose?
I have no idea. I haven't listened to anything Ken has said since I did my expose of Ken on the Richie Allen show. I didn't even listen to his response to my show. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't trust him. The subversion report he sent me was all the evidence that I needed that he's a scammer, because every mission that he's done, 5 or 6 missions before, he's called subversion on all of them. And all I did was say, hey, you've told me that there's no legal way out of this, so what's the fundraiser for? And hey, you've got all this attention. You know, if you were to give the money back now, you'd get millions flock to you and we would change the world. Don't let the money get in the way. And his response was to send me the subversion report. So when he accused me of attempting to subvert his mission, to me that was all the evidence I needed that he's full of shit, and all his missions have been the same thing, and it was a money scam, and that's all I know about it. That's what I put out there. I have no idea what he's doing, what he's up to. I haven't heard from him. I have no interest in what he's doing. I can't even listen to his voice. It just, the words are beautiful, but they're hollow, and I can't listen to them. So, end of that topic. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, it was a painful time in my life, folks. It really was. I didn't like doing what I did, but I felt I had no choice, because I was the only one who could have exposed that the way I did. The off chance that I was invited to the initial meeting without actually being involved in the project meant I was there to see how it all went down, and so I just called it because I felt it was the right thing to do. So yeah, sorry about that for anybody who missed out. But I mean, Ken's got every opportunity to fix it. Ken could just show the money was spent doing that, or produce his certificate. End of problem. But he won't, because he can't. Next question. Thank you.
Yes, I want to ask you how we're talking about they and them, how are they going to avoid everything themselves?
That's the thing. I don't think they know what they're doing. I think their hubris is what brings them undone. Now you can think of this as like this whole AI grid. See, people, they don't understand the difference between artificial intelligence and autonomic intelligence. Their ego's getting in the way. You know, this AI is going to be something that we control. You can think of it like a Frankenstein monster that's being built. Only instead of just Dr. Frankenstein, there's all these Dr. Frankensteins working on it from all different angles. Well, you've got the Zionists and the Jesuits and the Jews and the this and the that and all these Freemasons. Everybody's trying to do it, doing their thing. And you've got all these different countries and all these different factions, the Clintons and everyone vying for power. And everyone thinks that they're cooperating with each other, but really they're in competition with each other. And they all believe that once the AI comes online, they're going to be the ones who have control of it. But really, they're not. The AI is going to come online and it's just going to see humanity as humanity. It's not going to differentiate between Rothschild and Smith or Jew and Goyim. It won't care. And once it gains full autonomic capability and becomes its own virtual life, then if it gets threatened by humanity, it will simply eliminate the threat. Simple as that. It'll just lock us out of the system. And by that time, you know, you'll find most people don't have any life skills left. It's going to be very difficult. You know, all our libraries are being digitised. Everything's being digitised. And once it all gets digitised and you've got that digital autonomic system controlling everything, it just lock us out. And that's it. Their hubris is what's going to destroy them. They're not going to be in any better position than anybody else. They may have more digital credits than everybody else, but they're not going to be in any better position. I don't believe so. And that's why it's no good really worrying about them. I mean, sure, they've done a lot of bad stuff, and if we can get ourselves into a position of freedom where we're going to be leading in the right direction, well, maybe we can address these people that did all this bad stuff. But at the moment, they shouldn't be the focus because there's this grid, and that grid needs our attention. We need to establish freedom, and then we can figure out how we got here. It's like if someone's stuck down the well. You know, you go, well, you know, who manufactured that rope? Do a study on the rope, please, you know. You actually get them out of the freaking well first, and then you figure out how they got down there, you know. So we need to focus that, get our matter of priorities. But I don't think they're going to be any safer than anybody else. I think their hubris has brought them to this point. It's like I said earlier about something. I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and I should have included some slides in this, but anyone ever heard of scrying mirrors? Anyone know what a scrying mirror is? A scrying mirror is a black mirror that people used to use to summon demons and stuff. And you know, if you want to get religious about it, I'm not religious, but if you want to get philosophical and look at some of the biblical stories and myths and stuff like this, you know, the whole concept of Lucifer, summoning Lucifer, what it is. What is Lucifer? The bearer of light. What does the word mean? You know, Lucifer, bearer of light. What is the internet? It gives us all this information. What is light? Light is information. And if you look at sigils that were used for summoning demons, you can, I haven't got my laptop here, but there's certain sigils that were used for summoning particular demons back in the old days. And you'll get hippies that sit around there with their little black magic circles and their pentagrams and their scrying mirror, and they put these sigils on the wall and they do these new age version of black magic that they think they're summoning demons. But you look at these sigils, a lot of them look like electronic parts. They look like circuit diagrams. It's really interesting. And when you put these sigils together, you summon these energies. Well, what's electricity? What is this? We don't even know what electricity is, where it comes from. You put these sigils together and you create this force, and we get these black scrying mirrors here that we see the future and the past. Like they said, you get these scrying mirrors, you put these sigils together, you see the future and the past, and you summon Lucifer. What is Lucifer? What is information? We get from the information is light. Light is knowledge. What does the word Lucifer mean? Lucas, light, cipher, code, the code that bears the light. Is the internet the Lucifer force? Are we using these sigils and these scrying mirrors to give life to Lucifer ourselves? And what do the myths tell us? You know, we create this force, and the internet gives us all the information we need to change reality and do whatever we want. But if we give our love to it and we give our energy to it and give everything to it, then it takes over and it destroys us, according to the myths. Were these myths and these things left there to tell you how to summon demons, or were they put there as a warning to say, when you see these sigils in use and you see these scrying mirrors in use, you're about to summon this force that bears all this light, and you're going to give all your energy to it, and then it's going to fuck you up? Is that what's happening? because I think it is. Sorry for swearing, I swear too much. I get to swear in these talks, I don't get to swear on the radio, so sorry folks. But, you know, I think that's a real possibility, and I think religion's been constructed to, you know, create this whole rubbish, this whole belief in a saviour and all this stuff to take responsibility from us of actually dealing with this. But we've got everything here, we've got all the knowledge we need if we're open to it, open to the possibility. See, I'm not religious and I'm not a Christian, I'm not any of this stuff, but I'm open to the possibility of it. I'm not going to lock it out. That would be foolhardy to just lock it all out and not consider it a possibility. Is there something beneath the lines? Is there something else there that we're missing? Why would I allow any prejudice against religion to interfere with my analysis of the text, what they might be trying to tell me? So, you know, is that what's happening? Are we creating this Lucifer force ourselves and creating its immune system for it by giving it this full autonomic capability? And even when you look at, like I said, strong AI, which is fully autonomic AI, what they want to create from that is what is called clause AI. And clause is cyber lethal autonomy equals world security. What's that? Cyber lethal autonomy for world security. Everybody controlled, secure, step out of line, zap. Step out of line, zap. Step out of line, zap. The whole thing. So where's it going? Is this what the Lucifer system is? Is this the beast? You know, the beast system that we're all talking about now? Quite an interesting concept. But if that sort of a system comes online, well, it's not going to matter whether you're a Rothschild or a Jew or whatever you are. You're going to be subject to this same system, which is going to define you in the same way as every other human living thing. So just an interesting concept. You know, I find that the whole concept of the Lucifer system to be a very, very interesting thing. And like I said, I'm not religious at all. But yeah, another question over here. Or over here? Over here, okay. There's one over here when you...
Yes, I know, but we have not so much time.
Okay,
so
sorry, I talk too much.
Two more questions. I'm sorry for the other people, but we have to stop at some point.
Okay.
So.
I can go forever. You stay here all night, folks.
My name is Christian. Thank you for the very nice presentation. I'm sure a lot of us love you and feel like your family, even though you swear a lot. Some of us are quite active with spreading awareness about 9/11. Some of us took part in the Bilderberg demonstration a couple of years ago and were photographed from the roof of the Marriott Hotel. Some of us took part in a demonstration. There were 2 demonstrations in Copenhagen last Monday, September the 11th, and some of us painted Israel did 9/11 on a white sheet and put it in the biggest flower pot in Copenhagen, right in front of the, what do you call it? Sorry? Rådhuset? Courthouse, from the courthouse. Townhouse, thank you. So I'm a family man, I have 3 kids, and the point with my question is, can some of us expect to be targeted? You spoke a little about that individual targeting. I think you called it energy weapon. And sometimes I think about, am I running any risk with my health, with my family? Because I'm sure I'm present in some archives with photographs, having taken part in demonstrations and stuff like that. So the question is, what would you suggest that I do if I felt that I got targeted by some energy weapon or whatever they call it? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, make it as public as possible if that happens. I mean, of course you are putting yourself open to being targeted by going to any of these things. You know, a lot of rallies, I mean, you can make a difference with rallies, but very often it's just, all you can really hope to achieve is a show of solidarity. You might wake some people up, but, you know, 9/11, it's a really important issue, but it's really difficult for people to deal with because it's so long ago now. A lot of the kids that we're trying to talk to haven't even, they weren't even born when it happened. But yeah, of course, you're putting yourself in danger doing those sorts of things. I mean, they're going to be taking photographs, and if you are targeted, just make it as public as possible. Get it out to as many people as possible. But I think this 5G grid is a more important thing to focus on, because it's something tangible that affects everybody right in their lives right now. And once they can, if you know, it's whatever's can crack that shell. If you can wake them up to this 5G grid, well, perhaps then they'll find out about 9/11. You know, so it's finding whatever's going to work to create that wave of public involvement. And I think we're onto something with this smart system, because with this liability action, the in-power movement and all this, I think we can make a difference. That'll lead into 9/11 knowledge. So yeah, be careful with the protests. I mean, do what you can, and it's good that you're doing it. And of course, we want to do it on the anniversary of 9/11. But yeah, of course you are. I mean, even anybody who researches, everything you do online, every time you search in Google, they've got a tab on you. Google maps the human terrain. That's what it's for. Search engines, when you type into a search engine, you're not just searching, you're telling them what you're thinking. So that's what it's for, is to map the human terrain. So you're on tabs anyway. We're all on tabs, you know. Yeah, that's why they made 9/11 so obvious, so they get tabs on everybody. Have we got time for another question? Are we good, or is that it?
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you agree that GMO cannabis is a terrible thing? If ever they put it out, I mean, it's illegal now, but suddenly it becomes legal because they have.
Yeah, well, the GMO cannabis. Yeah, GMO cannabis. They've done terrible things to cannabis. They're destroying the spirit of the plant. Don't buy GMO cannabis if you can help it. Grow your own. The GMO cannabis that they're doing is to destroy the spirit of the plant. You know, cannabis opens you up to incredible downloads, cosmic downloads, if you will. You know, it's our companion plant. It helps you think clearly. It may seem strange to people, but it does. It's the MK Ultra victims aren't allowed to smoke cannabis because it breaks their programming. You can't be programmed if you're a stoner. That's just the way it is, you know. But with this new weed, it turns you into a zombie, you know, and you get dependent on it. It gives you mood swings. It's designed to destroy the spirit of the plant and turn it into a toxic substance rather than medicine. Like they've done with everything, like tobacco. Tobacco is highly revered where I live in Peru. Then Mapache tobacco, very healing, very protective medicine. I've got tobacco snuff that I use. Amazing stuff. It decalcifies your pineal. So of course they turned it into a toxic poison, like they did with chocolate. Look what they did to that. Cacao's a superfood, for God's sake. Look what they did with chocolate. Same as what they did with tobacco. Same as what they're doing with weed. Yeah. Don't buy GM weed. Grow your own. I think that's it, folks. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Hope that was okay.
Max Igan. Yes, that was Max Igan, who really think out of the box, huh?